So I think probably what most fans were hoping for and expecting, but now it's all sorted out. How do you feel about that, and that you now know you can start making your plans going forward?
Yeah, I think that hasn't really stopped, to be honest. We've been working full time. We always knew this was going to happen. It wasn't a case of us not being here and whatnot. We've been in every day, so it's nice to get it finalised and get it sort of officiated, or whatever you want to call it. It's not really been at the forefront of everything. It's more a case of sort of finishing off a hectic season last year, and then sitting down and working out the direction that we want to go in. I think the biggest thing was for us is that we understand that the club is even more united, and that we are able to sort of we're able to reform in a weird way, and sort of consolidate all the strengths and assets we've got. And we wanted to make sure that the people we're going to be doing that with, above, and obviously the players and the staff, are all going to be on board. And that's we're getting to that point now where you feel like we've gone through what everyone's aware of in terms of the playoffs, etc. But I think we're coming out the other side, and the big thing for me, which is one of the most pleasing reasons to sign, is that there's a real hunger from an appetite from everyone at the club to go and put that right next year. And I think there's going to be a lot of positive news coming in the next few days, couple of weeks, in terms of that, in terms of the football side of it and players. But I think it's important that me and Lou are the first ones to step forward and commit, so that then it shows a front of to everyone that the club is moving forward. And ups and downs happen, but actually it's about the character of how you recover from setbacks more than how you celebrate the victories, in my opinion. And I think the big thing for us was probably the trophy final was probably the best thing that could ever happen to the club. It's great winning it, don't get me wrong, but I think what it saw is it showed what we've seen in terms of, from my point of view, and I'm sure from Louis, is that that togetherness within the group, within the squad. We snuck so many people into Wembley, it was untrue, in terms of, because that's how many people that support us on the side. We had way too many people in there, apologies to that, but I think it just showed that the club itself was just it's about the community, it's about doing it for the right reasons, it's not about doing it for the riches and the glory. And because of that, the byproduct is that we won a major tournament for our level. And obviously seeing all the fans and the community out there, we don't get the people that come to Wembley obviously outweighed what we get most weeks, but it just shows there's a community out there that care about the club and want to support the club. And hopefully going forward we can engage that more, and also have that united front and that connection, and just make sure we make sure that from our responsibility, but also the club's, that we can continue to grow that. Because like you said, the adversity this club's been through in the last 5 years alone, I think the biggest thing this club can do is recover and make sure that we do it in the right way going forward, and keep putting things right, and just keep getting a little bit better, both on the pitch, off the pitch, and not just that, but how we conduct ourselves and how we go about it.
Louis, to you, take setting aside, and I know it's difficult to do so, but setting aside what happened off the pitch, I suppose last season proved exactly what you are capable of on the pitch, and therefore how exciting is the future?
It's hugely exciting. The way that we attack games, the way that we dominated opposition, the results that we achieved across the season was huge. Maybe from the outside looking in, it looked like we overachieved, but that definitely wasn't the conversation or the thought process within the club. We know what individuals we have. Them individuals know that they have to give themselves up to the bigger cause and to the club and the group, and ultimately put the club and the team's needs and wants at the highest list of their priorities. And we're going to look to build on that. It's really exciting. We've worked really hard to, first of all, have a period of reflection, to analyse what we did really well and how we can make that stronger, and then assess what we can improve on, and then identify the key areas that we can to improve and really make them as strong as possible. So ultimately it feels like a progression that we can evolve from last year. We're hopefully going to have some good news, like Rob said, regarding our current squad that is going to form the foundation and core for another season, and ultimately we're only looking up. We'll go about it our way, in a humble way, and anything that we achieve will come from the hard work that we instill in all the group and all the boys. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting next step, a part of probably a real successful cycle that the football club's had. You know, the last 3-4 years on the pitch has been outstanding, and it might not be linear and dead straightforward to get to the next step, but that is where we're achieving to go. And yeah, we're going to attack it head on, and we'd like to think that we've made some real good plans to improve the football side, but also we've had some real positive conversations with the board. We've worked closely with Neil, the chairman, recently to put a wider plan in place, football centred, but also that can get the whole football club looking to move forward.
Rob, just go back to you. I mean, obviously, winning the trophy is winning the trophy, and nobody can ever take that away from the football club. But do you think just the sheer act of doing that you're now Gateshead Football Club who's won a trophy, that helps with everyone's self-esteem involved with the club as well, and can be a positive?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just shows that, you know, regardless of finances or financing, the amount of staff you've got, all the things that make up what could be, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the league or leagues above. I think it goes to show that actually it's the importance of the people that are involved in the club and what they do. And I think the biggest thing we have is we have an abundance of people that, you know, a lot of them volunteer and give up their time, that are willing to go above and beyond and put genuine care and love into what they do. And I think that's a reflection of why we've been so successful, because yes, the players on the pitch have been incredible. You know, some of the football they played this year, or in the last however long, has been nothing short of exceptional and really enjoyable to watch. It's not been perfect, by the way. We're not sitting here saying that we've anywhere near cracked. You know, we could get a lot better, and that's the plans, to get better. You know, we know still we're in the bottom quarter of the league, if not more, for finances and on all those sort of fronts in terms of staffing and footballing. I don't know what the right word would be. Resources, thank you, mate. Yeah, like with resources and everything. But do you know what we try and do is we try and prioritise the people first and foremost, and secondly, what's the most important in terms of how we can get the club to where we want it to be, where we want the club to be. So yeah, like I think winning the trophies are just for me is a reflection of the club. First and foremost, is a reflection of these players, because they're just genuinely some of the best people that I've had the pleasure of working with in football at all. You know, I genuinely do care about them, and I think that's one of the major reasons why, you know, I wanted to stay and having conversations with a lot of them, is because I want to spend time with them. Like, one, because I enjoy it, two, because I feel like there's more development from them as well. But secondly, I think it's a little bit of a taste of where the club could, you know, what them good days feel like, and especially what it feels like at Gateshead with the sacrifices you have to make. But the best thing about them sacrifices is you know that it means something and that people care. So when you make them sacrifices, you're not doing it because it's a selfish motivation. You're doing it because you're sacrificing, because everyone's sacrificing. They're doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it for the good people. They're doing it for a good community. You know, a football club that's got a lot of hardship, but ultimately keeps coming back, keeps surviving. And all we want to try and do is make sure that, you know, whether we finish in the bottom half of the table, the top of the table, in the middle, that we keep developing, we keep playing good football, we keep developing the football club, so that, you know, when our tenure ends, or, you know, in tomorrow or in a year's time or 2 years' time, the club's in a better place. And that's the ethos of it, because if you focus everything on winning, or if you focus everything on just one aspect, then you're never going to be able to keep moving forward. And we just want to make sure that as we continue this journey, that the club just gets a little bit better, you know, and not just look at a reflection of the league table, but look at a reflection of the football club itself.
I appreciate it's difficult for you to answer, but we saw the statement earlier in the week from the chairman. How confident are you that the club won't find itself in a position where it's not eligible to compete should you reach that same stage of the playoffs or better next season? Yeah,
I'm really confident, to be honest with you. I think I think the board have made it really clear. Neil has made it really clear that, you know, I think that potentially happening again is going to be unacceptable. So, you know, we will find other ways and means of making sure we're eligible to play in the Football League. No, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, to be honest with you, in talking about that. I think I don't think that can be decided till March anyway, but I think the intent is clear from the club that, you know, the club will make sure that we will be in the Football League next year if, and it's a very, very big if, because the league's going to be twice as strong this year, in my opinion, we're in a position that we might be able to get promoted. Again, I think we're talking about things that have a lot of permutations, and the football, etc. And I think the biggest thing that is fantastic, all the positive stuff we had on the football pitch, but the biggest thing for me is that the players and the football club have to understand is that how we got to being successful last year and the reasons why, which is obviously, like Louis said, being humble, working hard, really buying into everything that we do as a football club on the pitch and off the pitch, and give us that base to be able to go use the players' talents and the way we play to be able to give ourselves another opportunity. We know that trying to achieve the same as what we did last year in terms of reaching a final and the playoffs or finishing in playoffs positions is going to be a huge task, but it's something that we're here because we want to dream, we want to try and achieve that and give ourselves the best opportunity to do that.
That's from me. Louis, to you. Now that dust has sort of settled on last season, how do you sum up the end of it? Because within the space of like a fortnight, the club had possibly one of the worst things that could happen to it, followed by maybe the best single day in its history. So emotionally, where do you leave the season after all that?
I think the last 2 weeks emotionally had everyone at two ends of a spectrum. I think the end of the season, we can't get away from the fact that a lot of the players and the fans and everyone associated with the club would have been gutted and felt potentially a little bit let down from the scenario itself. Not obviously the club, but all the processes which I know the clubs try to enlighten the fan base on in terms of the conversations that they've had with the league, how potentially some of the rules weren't helpful in terms of a football club our size trying to get to the next level, and how there's some things that aren't necessarily in the control of the football club, to then go to the other end of the spectrum, which was I know from conversations I've had with Rob and the other members of staff and part of the football club and the players, is it was one of the best days of a lot of people's, should we say, career and potentially an extension of their life. Ultimately, that comes about because of the process that we put in place when we work with the players and we interact with people in the football club. We try and create a positive environment where people ultimately come enjoy themselves, and we try and get better each and every day, because as Rob's touched on, if you're outcome driven, there's a lot of things you can't control, and ultimately you miss out on the journey, and probably 99.9% of where your work is that daily grind of getting better. So seeing a culture and a group of people and a collectiveness achieve a trophy for this football club, to bounce back from that setback, and then, like Rob says, the amount of people that was obviously there on the day, from the fans, from people wider associated with the football club. There's one photo that really sticks out. I think it's a wide shot of when the penalty goes in, when De Jong scores, and if you look at the length of Solihull's bench and the length of Gateshead's bench, it's truly fantastic, and that's quite magical in itself. So there was a journey in a roller coaster, but actually the season finished on a huge high, and like I've said there, the conversation I've had and probably reflection of my own experience of it, was one of the best days of my life, and that's something that we achieved together and we're really fond of, and ultimately we will, it's precious, and we've got that, and now it's a chance to build on that, because it was potentially a stepping stone of where we want to get to, being a club that was maybe once deemed as a good footballing team, didn't quite get the success and the results that they deserved, but actually that trophy then showed that we've got a process, we play a attacking style of football which actually brings success. So as far as I'm concerned, a brilliant day for everyone, and also a fantastic stepping stone to where we want to go to next.
In terms of pressure, do you feel there's more now you're a permanent management team? Do you feel that, I know you put a lot of pressure on yourselves anyway, but do you feel there's more now it is permanent? Not really,
no. I think the thing that I've got to give huge respect to, like Neil and the club for, is that they don't look at, they're not outcome driven. It's about, first and foremost, I think we have to always remember that it's just about having a football club, and the fact that the football club, whether it's the previous, like Mike and Ian and Chris, and now us, we're all very similar, and obviously all work together at one point, in the fact that the process, the club itself is more important, the identity is more important to this football club than the outcome of winning on a Saturday. And I think ultimately I've learnt myself, if you base everything on winning on a Saturday, and that's how you drive your life and that's how you drive the football team, then you're not doing justice in terms of the reason why you win as to winning. And it's a really big difference as in why you won to actually winning. And I think that's the thing for me, because ultimately when you look at the league this year, you can rattle off 10, 12 teams that will all want to get promoted, if not more, and loads of teams that, you know, brilliant football clubs, well supported, huge finances, well run, fantastic players, etc. But you know, if we start trying to look at them and think of what they're doing, what we take away from our strength, which is basically making sure that the people we bring into the football club, the people that are currently here, are, you know, given an environment where they know exactly how we're going to play. The football itself is worked on daily, but ultimately that them players understand and believe that they can get better, and this is the best place for them to develop as people, but also as footballers, in terms of the fact that, you know, this will give them the best opportunity to get higher up. You know, hopefully that's with the football club, which is why we've had so many fantastic players be here that, you know, you could argue shouldn't be, and they've actually made sacrifices themselves to be here, where they could have maybe made their lives easier from being in other places. So, you know, that's why they have my respect, and that's why I'm so pleased to be here again to work with those sort of people and those lads. But yeah, like, pressure for me is just, it's what you put on yourself, and there's no need, because we'll always play good football, we'll always try and do it the right way, but ultimately as long as the players individually and those people are developing, then the rest will come naturally, and whether that's winning, whether that's losing, whether that's playoffs or whatnot, you know, that'll be a byproduct of the process.
I think we spoke the day after Mike and Ian left, and you said there was some uncertainty in your own mind about how things would go going forwards. I guess, do you feel like a manager now? Do you feel like you've got that trophy in your belt as well, which some don't?
Yeah, no, not really. I wouldn't. It's a weird thing, really. It's a title ultimately, and you think that you realise that the day you become a manager, whether it's sitting here now permanently or when we was interim, nothing changes. You don't suddenly get enlightened by more knowledge or anything. You just realise that, you know, it's just about experience. It's about trying to do the right thing, and it's just about believing in what you do and why you do it. And the biggest lesson I learnt was, for the first 3 games, I tried to continue what Mikey and had put in place in terms of the football and everything. And ultimately, I can't do what they did. You know, they're incredible at what they do. Hence why the success they've had already since they've gone there. And we did ourselves an injustice because we tried to be. We wasn't being ourselves. No, I think the nicest thing is that 90% of the football that we was already playing in line with where we felt, but we just had to put our identity on it. And I think then that's when the lads really responded, and that's where we sort of kicked on, because they saw that when we was talking, it was like genuine belief and passion and understanding of what we think and how we think. You know, because football's just opinions. But yeah, all I am is a bit more experienced and a bit more of an understanding. But that doesn't mean I'm still not going to make loads of mistakes. We're still not going to get things right. We're going to get things wrong. It's just our challenge to ourselves is to make sure that we keep ourselves on track and we understand the important things and what's important and what's going to help us get success ultimately.
In terms of recruitment, have you found that the off-field situation has hampered attempts to recruit new players, and where's that at this point?
Not massively, no. I think it's been a question that's obviously now been answered. I think the thing we've got to realise is we've got a very good squad and a very strong squad, so if we're going to add to it, we want to add what we feel is going to be beneficial and quality and add to what we've got. You know, a few players have moved on, and obviously, like you wish them luck, and a lot of loans have gone back, and again, it's like, you know, the loan system for us has been brilliant. Hopefully we've helped with their careers. We've seen some exciting players over the last 12 months at the football club. But no, I think the recruitment side of it, you know, there's things going on in the background that are like really exciting, but ultimately the big thing we have is we know the first thing we want to do is secure what we've got. And I think it's really easy to look at things and look at other players and look at outside influence and go, oh, that looks good. But then actually, I think what we want to do is really appreciate the players that we've got, the players that have sort of got us to this point, who've been such a huge part of it. And I want to make sure that I'm working with them first and foremost. You know, some players will move on, hopefully for positive reasons, which is football, and that'll be a reflection of the football club. But the big thing for me is that the players who are here next season are the players that we trust, the players that we know can deliver and continue the journey, who want to continue the journey first and foremost. But then secondly, adding like-minded people who are hungry, who can add to us and maybe take us up a little bit and, you know, help us out where areas we need improving, and maybe give us a different dynamic as well in areas that we need to, you know, add to the sort of evolution of the football club, because, you know, we've had a good sort of 12 months now, or 24 months been in this league, so a lot of the teams we're going to play against will know the players, will know us, will know our system, And our challenge is to make sure that we don't get overrun by that, because we get figured out, if that makes sense. So it's just evolving the football club without losing the principles and continuing the process that we've been doing.
I will be cheeky and ask, is anything close in terms of new players?
There's a few things, yeah, but again, it's football unfortunately is just the your football's volatile. Unfortunately, you can be used for other opportunities. You can also miss out because of teams in higher leagues, because of finances, because of whatnot. I think the big thing is for us is that we don't ever want to be hasty, because like we said, the core that we have and the squad that we currently have is very strong, and we're really pleased with it. So there's not any major overhauls. It's a case of making sure that the people we do bring in align with the football club, but also add to what we've got. And I think that's been the biggest strength of the club the last couple of years, is the recruitment of players and making sure that the players that we bring in are able to contribute and add to what's already been like a team that's been successful.
You've obviously lost a big party coaching team and Colin McNair. The plans to replace Colin?
Yeah, there will be. Yeah, we need another pair of hands. Obviously, Louis playing the management side of it as well. Obviously for myself. So yeah, we'll look to bring someone else in, hopefully sooner rather than later. But again, it's a huge part of the club and the structure for us. So we want to make sure that's right, and we want to get the right person, someone who can add to what we do, who believes in the way we play and the way we go about things. So no, it's similar to the football side. It's the person first and foremost that we trust and we want to bring in, because you have to work with them every day, and you want to walk into work and enjoy it. And that's the biggest thing. There's probably other opportunities out there that would probably be more attractive on a footballing scale, but is it going to be as enjoyable, and are you going to enjoy getting into work every day and looking forward to it? And then that's the biggest appeal here.
Let me just last one to you. I mean, the journey you've been on in the last 5 years, I spoke about before, enforcement with Heaven, enforcement with Suffield as well, promotion and the trophy win as well. I mean, to now be permanent assistant manager, player assistant manager, it's been incredible. Do you ever take time to reflect on where you've come from?
A little bit. I actually had a moment last night where it kind of dawned on is the position, and then the obviously the transition from interim to permanent assistant manager. Probably feel really privileged and quite humbled and honoured in the fact that on a continuation of the roles that I've been carrying out alongside Rob, to be able to be in a position where you have to support, challenge and help develop people on a human level. Then as a footballer, I think in any line of work that is a big responsibility, and it's a responsibility that I'm looking forward to, and I really see as a challenge, because it's potentially some of the best work you do in terms of trying to shape people and try and shape a culture and environment where you get the best out of people. I think that's the most rewarding part of the role and what I'm looking forward to the most. And obviously a continuation of that of the role is, we've had conversations in the last week or so about how we can make the club and the football group itself better, short, medium and long term, and I think that's been some really exciting conversations as well. So them two roles and responsibilities are fantastic, something I'm going to attack head on. I'm again over the moon that I'm doing it with Rob. There would be no one else I'd like to do it alongside. And then for myself on that little bit of journey, I think I've spoken to you a few times about it, Mark. I think hopefully it's just potentially just a bit of a light on players that do fall out of the game at the age that I did, the 18s, the 19s age group. A lot of players then fall out with the 23s, and maybe it's something that I just take a little bit of pride in the fact that my journey will be different to Rob's, and then that will be different to the other members of staff that we work with. And what we always try and do is we try and bring the strengths of all that together. So for any young player, especially in the Northeast, or any young player out there who gets released from an academy system or doesn't quite make an academy system at that scholarship level and reserve level, I would just say if you're truly passionate about it and you want to kick on, don't give up. Make the right decisions. That's going to put you on the right path. Surround yourself with people that are going to help and guide you. And that's obviously what I'm trying to do now in this assistant manager role. So yeah, it's been a fantastic 5 years. But I want to make the next 5 years as successful, as enjoyable, and as rewarding.
Louis, from me, I think Rob mentioned it a little bit there, but is it very much still the plan that you're playing alongside being assistant manager? Is there going to be any kind of shift in focus, or has everything been that kind of hectic that you haven't really had too much chance to think about it yet?
He's trying to retire you, by the way.
Yeah, there's
Jack clearly wants you not to play.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions clearly, just like the one you've had from within the coaching team. I think we've found a really good dynamic where ultimately, Rob really supports me first of all as assistant manager, but he also supports me really well as a football player as well. We have that honesty where my strengths and weaknesses lie and how I can support the group, and we've had a real good review of that, and probably to a few people's disappointment, the plan is to continue the playing roles alongside the coaching role. We know together that brings an extra dynamic to the coaching team, to be able to be out there, to constantly be connected with what we're asking for the players, to help support the structure that we want the guys to play from and be the platform. So there's a lot of positives just being on the playing side. Game time, we don't know. That'll come down to various factors in terms of performance of the players, of myself, recruitment as well. So yeah, that side of it, really looking forward to. But it will always be with the greater good of the group, and the team will always dictate whether I'm just coaching or whether I'm coaching and playing.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned recruitment as well. How has it been this summer? Obviously, although you hadn't been confirmed as permanent appointments for a little while, work's obviously still been going on over the summer in terms of, as you mentioned, trying to retain lads from the squad from last season, trying to bring new players in. But how has it been this summer, having obviously Luke Clark and Josh as well around in the office, that there's a little bit more to the recruitment side of things? You're maybe not having to shoulder as much of the burden as in the past. Does that kind of make it a little bit easier for the Perrys?
Yeah, I think so. Just want to take this opportunity to highlight how much work Luke and Josh does. Fantastic individuals with great knowledge. Luke's added a huge dimension to the whole recruitment structure and process. The recruitment itself it never stops. Even within season, you're always just looking to identify targets, and then you have a system where you try and obviously evaluate and review their strengths and weaknesses and whether they would fit into the group. This summer, there was the question about obviously the off-field circumstances maybe dictating it. That, like Rob says, it's been a question, but it's been quite positive, and we've took our time purposely because we know we've got a real core, and we want to add to that core. The way that we go about things is it's person first, so we have to do our due diligence on that side, and we'll make sure that the person coming in will really affect the first team group and strengthen it. And I think there's been a lot of learning because it's the first time we've done it. We're working with Luke, we're constantly getting better, we're constantly having reviews of what have we done so far and has it worked, how can we get better for the next player that we look at. And we've also got some exciting plans where we've got players that we're looking at for the first team group, but also looking at that longer term plan for the football club, in the fact that we might not have a 23 structure, but we're looking at players potentially that we can bring in that can have the opportunity to affect the first team straight away. But if they don't, that it's someone that we can work and develop with and look after the club and the first team beyond this season. Going back to, like I say, the conversations we've had with the club about the wider plan.
Yeah, I think that's important. Is the we call it like the sort of the development side of the club now, because sort of when Mark said about Louis' pathway, there's a lot of players out there in the North East football. You've got young, hungry players that, given the opportunity to play full time, could really do something special and kick on. And it makes sense from the club's point of view, with the resources we have, that if we can identify young players in the area, that we can maybe develop over 12 months to 24 months, or whether it's the loan system, whether it's training full time, just to get them in that environment, then we're obviously going to explore that. And I think that's probably part of our remit in terms of, we're not just here to manage a football club on a Saturday and during the week. We're here to sort of help the football club develop on and off the pitch. So the day will come, unfortunately, as silly as it's talking about on our first day in the job, but the day will come where we're not here for whatever reason, and as long as the club's in a better position, not necessarily on the pitch because football's football, but as long as the club as a whole is in a real solid position and it's able to be, we're able to look back and say, what, when we, whatever reason, whatever we've done, the club's in a strong position. It's got good young players, local players, that connection to the community and the fan base, and we've helped people along the way, then that's the main thing.